or welcome everybody. Oh, that's nice. Hello, my little sweeties. This mat is out for you. Did you not bring your mat, Lizzie? You didn't bring it. It's very rare. Very rare. Yes. So thanks for coming, everybody. Shall we just sit however you'd like or lay down, whatever you'd prefer. But so we'll bring our palms together at your chest and can just set your intention. Reflecting on what matters to you. Can join together for one Om. Om. When you're ready, we can gradually open your eyes. And you might like to just sit with your feet over to your right. You might want to put a blanket or something underneath your left bottom, or bring your right hand down and your left hand up, and just letting both sitting bones rest down. Lengthen through the fingertips and down through your sitting bone. You know, this idea of our intention, you know, sankalpa, that which resonates with our spirit. Sometimes it's referred to as like a seed. The thing about this idea of the seed is that what you know, if you want something like a tree to grow, big tree can grow from a little seed. Let's release and change to the other side, but you do have to plant the seed. And so it's kind of the understanding about, you know, why we set our intention. That same idea, I know you've probably heard this story, but the same idea that you're not going to grow an orange tree from a mango seed. So actually, it does matter what you plant. And so often we're unconscious of what we're planting. We're planting all the blooming mango seeds everywhere, but really we want oranges. I don't know, maybe not oranges. Let's cross your ankles if that feels nice. We'll let your arms float up, and then we'll just turn around to the right, just letting your gaze be at eye level all the way to the right. And we can bring your back hand up and wrap around over onto your knee, curling under, kind of like a cat curl for a couple of breaths. Can you feel your sitting bones on the ground, and feel as though you can kind of bring your sitting bones forwards. When you're ready, we'll gradually come up and wrap your hands around your shoulders like a little cuddle. Maybe we'll bring your arms around to see how does that feel. Can you sense where the crown of the head is, the base of the torso? You find your center line. When you're ready, we'll float your arms around, and then just turning to the left and letting your eyes stay at eye level rather than at the ground. So looking all the way to the left with your gaze at eye level. And letting your back hand float up and wrap around over onto your knee, curling under like a cat curl. As you breathe out, as you can feel how you can sense down into your sitting bones, and as if you're bringing your sitting bones forwards to help you to activate the muscles in the lower abdomen. And so that when you feel an in-breath here, you can feel all down into the low back ribs, an expansion. So if you're bringing the in-breath prana into the back. And when you're ready, we can gradually wrap around. Maybe we'll keep our arms in a hug onto the shoulder blades, or perhaps bringing the arms out. You can feel how you can let your elbows move out, away a little bit, and perhaps up a little. But as you do that, you still sense down into the ground with your feet, with your legs, your seat. And then when you're ready, we'll release your arms. You might want to grab your strap. We'll bring your left arm up and maybe your right arm round behind. You might just have a strap in between your hands, so we don't want to be straining at all. And just kind of noticing like what's happening in the center of our body. If we're kind of like really going over to the side, perhaps we might just adjust a little. You might even want to adjust what you're sitting on to help you. And, you know, I love how the Buddha, when you look how the Buddha's got long ears, like this symbol of peace. And when we consider what our intention is, nobody says, I have the intention to be tense and uptight and bitter and resentful and kind of pretty fucked off. Like nobody ever says that. Oh, let's release and we'll change to the other side. So more often I hear people say things like intentions to do with peace, with joy and love. So although it seems to be entirely normal that we may react with like a conflict and like a, you know, I don't want to prime everyone with the opposites of peace, love, and joy. It's too easy. Let's release that. Now, if you want, we can try bringing your arm around and then your other hand like this to take a hold of your, perhaps, just see how does that feel. And the idea of this is just like letting this arm get heavy to let your top elbow go upwards. And so like you're pulling down with this hand, maybe, without necessarily like pulling the whole of your torso. See if you can still plant down a bit with the sitting bones as you draw down. So it does open up through the ribs. Can you press the back of your head into the arm? And what if you imagine the Buddha ears? As if like your ears are long. And we can release and try the other side, which for some reason I just can't work out how to do it. To give you the instructions of it. This is the one we did, right? So it's this one. I don't know. Shows the brain. Shows the hole in the brain. So with your hand that's holding the one that's up, feel how you can just gently draw down to help the elbow kind of go upwards. So can you feel it's kind of opening through the armpit shoulder a little bit? And also how we can press the back of your head into your arm. Because again, talking about intention, nobody says that we want to like be like an old lady with like rounded like that. But sometimes we do these postures and we've got our head way forwards. Do you notice what I mean? So see if you can actually feel where the crown of the head is. Let the roof of the mouth draw up. Press the back of your head back into your hand. So then you have like this like stability. If you want to use the image of the Buddha as a, you know, as a symbol. And then when you're ready, we can release your arms and then come onto your hands and knees. And we'll just move through some cat-calls at your own pace. So on your out breath, we'll press into your feet and your shins and into your hands as you curl under. And then with the in-breath, push off the ball of the feet. You can imagine as if you're kind of like opening your hands outwards, opening through your chest. And then when you're ready, just move at your own rhythm. Feel how you can let the breath like really slow down. You can have a feeling of your breath enveloping your motion. And then with your next breath out, we can press back into child's pose. If it's comfy for you, we're going to bring your knees together and bring the points of the elbows onto your knees. We'll bring your left hand onto your back. We're putting our hand here just to make sure that we're going to keep our pelvis in the same position as we press your right hand down, your right elbow down, and start to lift the left side of the chest. So you're coming into a twist. So your palm can be down. You can push down into the right elbow. You can look all the way up with your eyes, keeping the crown of the head in line with the base of the torso. and then releasing back, bringing your left arm down. Really press into the left elbow, turn across towards the right. So you can lift up through the right elbow, but keeping the contact onto your back, just to ensure that you're not dropping over to the left. And then back to center and over to the other side. So we're really seeing if we can not drop to the right. So can you see some of us have just dropped a bit over to the right with the bottom? So you're lifting the left side of the chest, bringing the right side of the chest forwards while staying stable down into the lower part of the pelvis, and then release over to the other side. So this is a really great way to help to, we'll do it one last time, to increase our thoracic mobility, which often diminishes, and helps us to look after the lower back and neck, which sometimes we're over pressuring. And that's why I'm asking you to just check that you're not dropping to the side. And usually we tend to drop to the side on one side more than the other. Do you notice that? So do you want to just do one more time on the side that you might, if you feel like you've got one side that tends to drop a little bit. It's often got to do with how we might carry children or carry things on handbags or whatever on one side. And when you're ready, then we'll release, and then we can grab your blocks, and we can do the same thing with your hands onto blocks if you like, into a position like this. But the idea is the same, that we don't want to do this. Okay, so we don't want to collapse that way. We want to keep the strength through the abdominal muscles. So we're going to press the right arm down, start to turn across, lengthening through the crown of the head, the base of the torso, drawing the left scapula towards the spine, and then releasing down and changing to the other side. So ensuring that you're not dropping side to side. Like imagine if you had a wall next to your bottom. Just do it a couple of times at your own pace. So really press down into the arm that's on the ground. And as you lift the chest upwards, that's it. And then switch to the other side. So it sort of is a diagnostic for us. If you feel that you're dropping a lot to the side and it's hard to not do that, then we need to strengthen around the pelvis to help to look after the lower back. And then when you're ready, we'll release, and then we'll come into downward facing dog. And can you feel how you can really press into your fingertips? And as if you're like pushing down with your fingertips and forwards on your mat. You feel how you can press down with your feet, and as if you're pushing back with your feet, as if you're trying to like lengthen the mat with your hands and feet. When you're ready to, we'll come to plank, walking your hands forwards. Feel how you can sense the inside circle of your palms. Imagine you could pull the inside circles of the palms upwards, and then come back into downward dog, moving your hands back a little bit. When you're ready, we can walk your fingertips all the way back towards your feet into forward bend, bending your knees. Just let your head relax down. And really push into your feet as you come up to stand. So press down into your feet as you raise your arms up, looking up. I can draw up through the chest. And then see your thumbs in your peripheral vision as you lower your hands. Let the breath all the way out. When you're ready for your in-breath, see your thumbs as you come up. And then with your out-breath, bending the knees, coming into the forward bend. We're going to walk your hands back out into downward facing dog. Just pausing here for a couple of breaths. Can you sense how you can press down into your fingertips and how you can draw up through the inside circle of the palms as you press the outside circle of the palms down. When you're ready, we'll bring your right foot forwards to come into a lunge. And let's just grab a block to actually just maybe grab both blocks. So just having both hands onto the blocks, even if you don't need to, just to help you to really sense, are you like level across your pelvis? So sometimes which side wants to drop down? I guess, is it the right, the left? Is that what wants to happen? I don't know. The left drops. Right, that's right, the left drops. So can you get a feeling of actually lengthening a little bit upwards through the inside of the left thigh? So now if you put your hand across your back, you can get a feeling of keeping that level. We're going to have your left hand onto the block and then start to turn, bring the right side of the chest upwards and the left side of the chest backwards. You can just keep your hand onto your back. and then we'll release. Bring your hands down, come back into plank and into downward dog. And just take your time to step your left foot through to come into the lunge. Just using both of the blocks and just bringing your awareness to bringing your hand onto your back for a sec. And just notice, can you get the feeling of so not dropping to the right, to let the right side, yes, that's it. And keep that level as now you're just going to start to turn across this way, bringing the left side of the chest upwards. And do you see how to keep that level and not move, it's actually really flipping hard, isn't it? Because we really all want to overdo it down, lower. And then we can lower, bring your hands down and come back into plank. Lowering all the way down. We'll come into Sphinx. Let's press the top of the feet into the ground. Get the sense of as if you could bring the front of the thighs like forwards. And when you're ready, then we're just going to release over to your right side. We're just going to tap the outside of your left heel. So tap the outside of the heel and then place your thumb onto the gluteus medius, which is about on the pelvis, onto the butt. It's about like here, about this area. And we're going to press into there, bend the knee, bring the knee in front of you. When you bring the knee in front, you can see how your thumb will kind of go in. Then when you bring your leg out straight and feel the little toe side of the foot as if you could push up, like really push up into, if someone's hand was there, you're going to push their hand up and then push back as well, up and back. Feel how under your thumb it will be working. And then bend the knee, bring it in front, see how it releases. And then, can I move your hand just a touch? And then again, make it straight. Make your legs super straight, dig the big toe down, push up with your, that's it, and back, both at the same time. Feel it's activating under your thumb, yeah? And then bend the knee. And it releases, and then bring it back again. So maybe just have it like here, yeah. And then push like that, push into my hand, yeah. And then bend the knee. See, it's softened under your thumb, and then make your legs straight and push back as well, up and back. It's kind of hard to do both, isn't it, everyone? Big toe digs down. And then when you're ready, we'll release and come over to the other side. So I feel like because we sit a lot, that we just can't really do this enough. Don't you reckon? My friends who do this a lot, it never feels like, oh, I just don't need to do it. Don't you reckon? Especially on one side for some of us. And so it's really, these are the muscles that help to stabilize the pelvis and help us to not pressure the lower back and the neck. So I kind of feel like if anyone gets any low back pain or hip pain or headaches, or well, I don't want to prime anyone, but any of that stuff, this hopefully will help a lot. So feel how you can really activate it more by digging the big toe down as you imagine you're pushing the little toe side of the heel up. But you don't actually have to lift it too high. It's not that you have to actually lift it high. Just keep it at about hip level. And you don't have to bring it way back behind you. It's just as if. It's an as if action. Beautiful. So we'll just do that just for another breath or so, just so you feel like you're even, like you feel like you're doing this evenly on both sides. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to lay onto your tummy. And so we come back into Sphinx. Can you do the same action of digging the big toes down? And you're not in Sphinx, your feet are on the ground, but as if you're lifting your feet up and as if you're lifting them out to the side. Do you see what I mean? But you're not actually, because you're digging the big toes down. Can you see how maybe that supports your lower back? I hope it does. Yeah. And then when you're ready, if it's fine, then maybe we'll come up a little bit higher into Cobra or stay in Sphinx, and then we can press up and then just kind of rock forwards and back. So we see how when we rock back, it releases those muscles. Let's come into plank. And in plank, we want to really activate the gluteus medius muscle. So the same action of digging the big toes down, as if you're lifting your heels up in the air like that. In fact, let's just try that. Let's lift the right leg and lower it down in the left. Good. And then plank. And then into downward dog. See how it all has to release to come into downward dog. When you're ready, we'll step your right foot through to come back into the lunge. And so the back leg, can we get the feeling? You're not actually lifting it up and out, but as if you are, and then we'll come into the twist. So can you get the feeling of keeping the back leg doing an action like this? And that may help you to stabilize the hips when you are in this position. And then release down and switch to the other side. See, the front leg is doing, the knees bent, so you've released on that side. But on the right leg now, can you dig the big toe down? Feel as if you're bringing your right foot over to the right and as if the heel into the sky. And then bring your hands down and come back into plank. See how that's way more stable, everybody? Then we'll come back into downward dog. So Sthira Sukhamasanam, we want the stability. Otherwise, there isn't the Sthira. And often when we have that stability, then we feel the sukha, the ease. If you'd like, we'll take your time, step your right foot forwards to come into warrior one. So in warrior one, the back leg, can we focus on doing what we were doing in the, laying on your side? If you'd like to, we'll step through to come into warrior three. You might like to have your arms extended or namaste. Concentrate on the back leg doing that same action. And then softly landing back into warrior one. Bring your hands down into plank. Maybe if you'd like to go through chaturanga, an upward dog, and downward dog. But if you'd prefer to just be on the hands and knees doing the big circles around, or perhaps being in child's pose, please do. Just taking your time, we'll step your left foot through to come into the lunge, into warrior one, sorry. So the back foot, I don't have my hand at the little toe side of your foot, but imagine as if it was there and as if you're pushing back and up to help you to come into warrior three. So you're going to keep your foot in line with your hip. It's not that you're actually lifting it higher, but as if you are. Beautiful. And then landing back. Really keep pressing back into the back foot. And then bringing your hands down to come into plank. Beautiful. And if you'd like to, we can lower to chaturanga with the left leg lifted, like we were just practicing, lifting the foot to lower, and then both feet down to come into upward dog, pressing the top of the feet, the big toes down, lifting the chest, and then into downward dog. Basically, there's a lot going on in those little movements, because if you want to, just for 1 second, we'll just come back again to lay onto your right side and your thumb onto glute med. When you bend the knee and bring it forwards, that's like what you're doing with the front leg in warrior one, in a lunge, in downward dog. That's what you're doing with both sides of the butt in a forward bend with the knees down. Then when you bring the leg back straight and press through the little toe side of the heel, dig the big toe down, and that sense of as if you're going up and back, that's what we're doing in plank and upward dog and all chest opening postures, and the back leg in all of the asymmetric standing postures. So see how when we hold it for a while, you're like, that's enough, thanks. Let's go over to the other side, which is my whole point, which is why it might be something that we have to keep remembering to activate, so that in those postures, we're really looking after our lower back and like letting the thoracic area increase mobility rather than lose it. And a way, this is a really great way to do it. So see how when you're just holding for a moment there, big toe digging down, as if you're bringing the heel up and back. You want to get the feeling of activating this, and you start to feel your hamstring also works a bit doing this, because you're not just flopping your leg like an old dish rag. And when you're ready, then we'll come back to come into laying on your tummy. So if it's comfy, we're going to just pop the block as you're laying into your tummy, just in between your ankles, and I'll come around and help you to get it into the right spot if you like. So we're going to hold it in between your ankles. We can hold it the width ways maybe. So we're going to hold it with the top of the feet down. So when the top of the feet are on the ground, see how that gets you to really dig the big toes down. I'll help you. So it's very hard to get it in the exact spot. So now when the top of the feet are on the ground and you're digging the big toes down and you're holding the block, see how holding the block is, it's kind of like opposite to when I'm saying to you to bring, as if you're bringing the right leg to the right and the left leg to the left. But see how you can kind of as if you're doing both. So as if you're bringing, you are holding the block, but as if you're bringing the legs out and digging the big toes down. And maybe you'll hold the block now and actually lift your legs up. So you are going to lift the heels. Beautiful. And now lower back down. And so as you are on the ground with your big toes pressing down, could you imagine as if you're going to lift the heels up like you just did? See how it just gives you so much energy when you do that, that now you might like to come up into Sphinx again with your forearms on the ground. But so you're going to keep digging the big toes down, make sure they're really pressing down, down, down. And that gives you this force that helps you to, as if you're bringing forwards with your thighs. Can you sense that? Beautiful. And then when you're ready, if you want to, we can come up into upward dog or cobra or any of these versions where we increase the, the back bend, but can we keep the support through the legs and the pelvis and then into downward facing dog? So can we hold the block on the way back into downward dog? Which you see how sometimes one leg wants to do it first than the other? That's because we sometimes have one side, what we noticed before. Let's walk your hands back towards your feet. We're going to take the block out. Beautiful. Let's have a nice little forward bend here, releasing. So in the forward bend, see how we're releasing the muscles across the bottom. And we can keep them releasing as we walk back out into downward dog. Beautiful. And then walk into plank and activate them, super active to help to support you as you lower down. If you want to go through chaturanga to upward dog or cobra, super activate them, super duper activate them, and then let them release as you go back into downward dog. Beautiful. And so hopefully that helps a lot. We're going to step your right foot forwards to come into perhaps Parivrtta Ardha Chandrasana. So you might want to have a block. You might want to have the block on the highest level or lower. We're going to have the back leg from the ground. We'll start to bring the left side of the chest across the right side of the chest, lifting up. Can you keep the action for the back leg? Perhaps you'll let your top arm float upwards. When you're ready, we'll bring your back foot onto the ground. Perhaps you'll grab your two blocks to come into Parsvottanasana. Just seeing if that feels nice for you. By the way, do you notice that in Parivrtta Ardha Chandrasana, this revolve position, it's kind of hard to feel the back leg? Don't you reckon? It's more, you feel the front one more. When you're ready, let's come back into downward dog. It's one way for downward dog to feel easy. Or step your left foot through to come into perhaps Parivrtta Ardha Chandrasana. So your right hand will come down. Try using the block on the highest level under your right hand. So put the block on the highest one. Try putting it like that and put your hand on top. And then that gives you some freedom for the thoracic part of the spine. And can you attempt to get a feeling of activating through the back foot? The big toe is going to dig down. So you're bringing the little toe side of the heel over towards the right and up to the sky. And then bring your back foot onto the ground. Take your blocks to come into Parsvottanasana. I know it's so annoying when I'm giving you those suggestions when you're in the posture, but it does actually help to not have the back foot like an old dish rag, doesn't it? Not saying you did, just that tends to be the tendency otherwise. And so it all is relating, by the way, to the whole of the pelvis, including the pelvic floor. So when you're ready, we can step back into downward dog. And just by the way, you might like to try a variation of downward dog where you have the blocks under your hands like this. Some people like this for a change. It kind of feels maybe nice for the wrists and shoulders if you want to try it. Sometimes it's just a nice option. Beautiful. Just letting the breath go all the way out. When you're ready, we can hop to sit onto your bottom. You might like to bring your right foot, your right leg out, your left foot in to come into Janu Shirshasana. You might want to sit up onto a blanket or a bolster. Can you have a sense of being equal across? So it might be better to elevate to do that. We're going to turn across towards the right, feel like as if you're kind of hugging to the right, and then perhaps you use your strap, you'll start to come forwards. Perhaps you'll take a hold of your foot. We want to really press your foot into your thigh. Could you get the sense of as if you're kind of squeezing them in together, pushing the foot and thigh into each other? Feel how you can kind of spread across the shoulder blades. When you're ready, we can start to float up and switch to the other side. So bringing your right foot and left thigh, really pressing them in, making sure you feel really level, hugging across towards the left. Feel how when you kind of hug over to the left, you get more abdominal activation to help you, and keep that sense as you start to come forwards. Perhaps you'll hold onto your shin or your ankle or your foot, maybe use your strap. Perhaps you'd like to kind of experiment with the idea of kind of like as if you're pulling your arms back into the sockets more. So as if you are holding on to something, as if you're actually as if pulling it towards you rather than having your arms be pulled away from you. Can you feel the difference of that? When you're ready, we'll gradually start to come up. And then we'll come into Baddha Konasana. But just before we do, let's bring your legs out like that. So we want to get the feeling of the little toe side of the heel as if we're going to do that, which is what we've been just doing ad infinitum. Okay, so now let's bring your feet together. So that's going to be step 3. Okay, step 1, you guys all know this. We're going to press, we're going to draw your legs up, and we're going to push your arms down. So we're going to not on your knees, but on the middle of the thigh. We're going to draw up with the legs and push down with your arms. So you create an action there. So as if you're forcing up with the legs while you push down with the arms. And step 2 is just relax that. Just stop doing that. And now step 3 is as if you're doing that, except you're glued together, so you can't actually bring them apart. But can you see how when you do the action as if you're doing that, that's what brings the legs down and probably stretches here a lot. So obviously temper it to suit you. So we can continue to do this, the step 3, and then step 4, feel the abdominal area as if like you're drawing a line and you're trying to bring the line back, and that's what helps you to come forwards if you'd like to. But keep doing the step 3 of as if you're bringing the right leg straight out to the right, left leg straight out to the left. If you can get a sense of the big toes, that'll help you to get the feeling of Mula Bandha. When you're ready, let's come up. I just felt like that was unnecessary. You don't want to hear me say that. Okay, now we're going to come into Ardha Matsyendrasana. So in this posture, we want to get this leg, so that we're going to tuck your left leg under. We want it to go like that. So in fact, let's just start off with the left leg out. And if it's easy to get tap it. So we want to, as if we're doing that. Okay, now this leg, let's hug the leg in, as if you're getting your knee to your armpit. Now imagine you're going to get your right knee and your left armpit together and attempt to do it with your body, not your arms. So you've got to use your psoas muscles, your abdominal muscles, the bandha in the armpits, and then we'll release that down. So that action, probably you forgot about that action. So they're two opposite actions. We see if we can do both. So if it's easy to tuck it under, like that, if it's easy, we still want to do the action as if it's going that way. So don't worry, just have it out straight. It might be better to have it straight. Not straining at all. And do you notice how we might be going over here? So what could help you if you want to try putting your hands on the ground and feel where your two, like tap your sitting bones. It's a tapping class today. It's hard to get under that one. Tap the sitting bones and imagine you could just get them both to come forwards right now. And as you're imagining them both to come forwards, then you might find as you sit down then you can get that side down more. Do you see that? So this posture, Ardha Matsyendrasana, is like Lord of the Fishes. And sometimes you see an image of it, like imagine this is the fish's tail. So in other words, what we're doing in this posture is that we don't want to be doing this like that. You see what I mean? But let the fish's tail, like, yeah, see? And then you can get both sitting bones on the ground, and then that's going to be more supportive for you. I got so confused. Right, okay. So, okay. So then we're going to bring this arm over to, as if your armpit and knee are going together. But remember, don't start over sticking the butt out. So maybe even go like that again. Try and maybe get the sitting bones to go like towards the front of the mat a little more. And then we can turn into the twist here, bringing the right side of the chest back, the right shoulder blade towards the spine. The left shoulder blade is moving away from the spine. Beautiful. Then releasing that when you're ready. If you want to, we can do a little turn around, roundsy, bouncy, perhaps. Very lovely. And then we probably have to do that again, making sure. By the way, if activating these muscles here doesn't help you to get both sitting bones down, it would be better to do it like this. Okay, we don't want to be pressuring the lower back. I think that's the theme of today. Got the feeling of as if the knee and they're going to squeeze in together, right? So that's oppositional. By the way, the shape of our feet, it doesn't mean that this might not even be touching the ground, depending on the shape of your feet. But it's just as if you're doing that action that we were doing 5,000 billion times today. And what that does is it helps to stabilize you so you don't tip too much. So yeah, okay, ready? We're going to turn across towards the left. Can you feel how you can bring the left side of the chest back, the left scapula towards the spine, and the right side of the chest forwards? Beautiful. And when you're ready, we'll gently release. Beautiful. We can release your legs. Perhaps you'd like to come into Paschimottanasana. You could try it, whichever version you like. Some people like doing a version with the bolster under their legs and perhaps just a little forwards. You might feel like we've done enough seated forwards. So if you want to just come into Supta Hasta like this, that's great. You might like to bend your knees a little. You might like to bring your bolster to give you a little support this way, just so that we don't have to go to a maximum edge right now. Instead, let this posture help you to feel the whole back of your body. The whole back of the body is having a beautiful, soothing, lovely, easing. And imagine from the soles of the feet through the calves and the back of the legs, all across the bottom, the sacrum, the lower back, the middle of the back, and the upper back, across the shoulders and the back of the neck and the whole of the scalp. A beautiful, easing feeling. Sometimes just simply imagining that can help us to support maybe some little areas that might have been a little pressured, so that this can then be like a big hug, a big, gorgeous love, cuddle position, so that we actually then experience Sthira Sukham Asanam, that we can resolutely abide in the good space. It's going to be here for just 2 more breaths. When you're ready, we can gradually come up and then lay down onto your back, obviously. There's no other option now, is there? You can lay onto your back. You might like to hug your legs in, give yourself a little cuddle. You might like to bring your feet onto the ground, and if you want, we can just do this little thoracic kind of interesting idea here where we can have your arms out to the side. You could also just have your, just make sure you've got room to have your arms out straight. And we're going to keep your feet onto the ground and your bottom onto the ground. And we'll bring your right shoulder off the ground and reach over towards your left hand. So we're not lifting the right bottom to do it. And then back to center and then over to the other side. So you can definitely lift the right shoulder. Oh, sorry, let's all do the same side just for your brain and mine as well. Let's all bring the arms out to the side again. Okay, so we want to keep the feet down, the bottom on the ground. We're going to bring your left hand over next to your right hand. And so bring your shoulder right off the ground, but not the hip, not the bottom. Do you get me? And you don't have to reach too much with your shoulder. We want to feel the thoracic part of the spine mobilizing. Then release out of that and over to the other side. So bring your right hand over to your left hand. I know we could all get our hand to touch if we lifted our bottom off the ground, but that's not the idea. Do you see what I mean? We're trying to get our feet and our legs, the muscles around the pelvis, to support the lower back and just increase thoracic mobility. Let's do it a couple more times. So especially those of us who have a tendency to hang in our lower back, we really will probably feel like our butt wants to lift off the ground, especially on one side. Is that true, anybody? Maybe you're enlightened and you just don't have that, so that's great. Just do one last one. So we don't want to try and make it all into the shoulders either. We're just wanting to get a feeling of like letting there be freedom in the thoracic spine. Once you feel like you've had enough of that, then you might want to grab your block or lift your bottom a bit over to the right. And so this time we bring your legs across towards the left. But the idea is to see if we can really keep the right side of the chest onto the ground. The reason why I suggested to you to get a block or something underneath your knees is because our leg bones weigh a bit. It is often easy to get the legs onto the ground, but then the right shoulder lifts off the ground. Do you see what I mean? If the right shoulder lifts off the ground, it might not feel nice in our lower back or our neck. Hopefully this actually feels nice right now though. You don't have to use a block. You could use a bolster. You could also just have your legs down. Yeah, because sometimes just sort of stopping the legs going all the way over it helps that to go down, right? Yeah. And then when you're ready, we'll come back and over to the other side. But by the way, do you notice how you can maybe feel like you want to stay in it for longer? Because you're actually having Sthira Sukhamasana, you're actually able to resolutely abide in the good space because it's kind of nice. It's nice when we're not overdoing it. So can you sense the left side of the chest, the back, the left upper back into the ground? So that you can feel your breath across the back. But it's not that we're pushing the front ribs out so much. When you're ready, then we can come back to center. And then just depending on you, you might feel like you just want to have a rest. If you want to, we can just kind of lengthen your lower back. And then we're going to take the block and pop the block in between your thighs. We're going to hold your feet block width apart. We want to keep your shoulders onto the ground. You could either have your hands into the air or out to the sides. And we're just going to start to bring your knees just a little bit over towards the left. So your right bottom lifts off the ground, but keeping the right shoulder on the ground, and then come back to center and over to the other side. So we really want to activate your abdominal muscles. We can just do this a couple more times. As your knees go to one side, think of bringing your navel the other side. Okay, come back to center, then we'll take the block in between your ankles now. We're going to hold the block in the ankles, keep the knees block width apart, and we'll continue. We'll just bring your legs across to the left, keep the right shoulder down, think of hugging your lower abdomen in and across to the right. And then back to center, bring your knees a bit to the left, think of hugging the lower abdomen like inwards and across over to the left, and then back to center. Then maybe if you want to, we can try this with your legs straight. You'll notice, especially if you have long legs, that it just gets a lot harder So we don't have to necessarily do that. Feel free to adjust. And then perhaps we'll maybe go a bit further. And then back over to the other side. Just a few times like that. But the game is to keep both shoulders onto the ground. And the longer your legs, the more I suggest you bend your knees, because it will be too long of a lever. So the game is to keep both shoulders on the ground. And maybe you'll bring your legs all the way across with both shoulders on the ground and all the way back. But it's very hard, isn't it? So you see, often we can feel like we twist easy, but maybe then we're actually just pressuring. It's actually quite hard to do these, don't you reckon? So not trying to torture you, just this come back to center. But let's take the block out. If you want to, we'll come into one more. Right ankle into the left leg, bring the bottom up and over to the right, perhaps bring your knees towards the left, perhaps put some props there. Can you activate through the right shoulder, bringing it down, bringing the right shoulder blade closer towards your spine. So like you're hugging it in, so you have the right shoulder on the ground. Can you feel how, if you pretend you're holding the block in between your ankles and pretend you're holding the block in between your thighs, that can give you some support. And then we can come back to center and then over to the other side. See, I just think it's really very symbolic that any posture that's getting us to look at things in a different way, of this revolving, the concept of parivrita, is that it's actually really hard. So that's maybe helps us to have some compassion. And also how much strength is required. Maintain that stability and support. And when you're ready, we can come back to center. And then if you'd like, we can come into happy baby to see how that feels. And you might like to practice a variation of happy baby where you can just bring your bolster underneath your sacrum. So you kind of lift your bottom. You might prefer to not do this and instead just start to get ready for Shavasana. But if you'd like, you can just have the bolster under your sacrum. You could kind of hug your legs in, holding onto your feet or the back of the knees, just wherever it kind of feels nice. You could also, after a while, if that feels really easy, put your feet back on the ground, lift your bottom, move the bolster a bit higher to like waist level. Sort of just might mean that then you don't even hold on to your legs, to see what suits you. This helps you to create what's referred to as Treta Bandha, where Mula Bandha activates, and Uddiyana Bandha. Because we're moving the sternum as well towards the crown of the head, we start to get Jalantara Bandha. So if you're loving it and you want to put your feet on the ground and move the bolster higher, so waist level, just move the bolster if you wish, but don't have to. And obviously just any variation of you'd like. If you have the bolster higher, like navel level, waist level, you might not have to hold onto your feet, just if you want to hold them, that is. Just see what's really comfy for you. You're using the bolster and the like fairly high up. You might like to stay there, or if you want to start to put your feet on the ground and lower the bolster down a little bit. So you kind of like, I suggest in this practice that we just kind of gradually go into it and we gradually come out of it. If you had it fairly high, you might like to just move it down now to just a bit lower. Right, just kind of how we started. You hold on to your legs in this position. And you may like to stay in this for longer, which I recommend if it feels really soothing for you. If you feel like you're ready to come into Shavasana, you might like to just slide the bolster down lower so it comes underneath your legs, and then you might like to bring a blanket under your head, perhaps. Just find what's really nice for you, comfy, maybe a blanket on top of you. Really rest. I like to practice a little yoga nidra, which we can begin by just noticing the sounds that you can hear outside of the room, the sounds that are far away. And just not holding on to any sound. Just starting to notice now the sounds that are closer to you. And the sounds inside your own body. The sound of an inhale. The sound of an exhale. And just bringing your awareness now to your right hand. Just sensing your right hand from the inside. So you can feel inside your hand, you visualize your hand. Your right thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, palm, the back of the hand, right wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, your right shoulder, right side of the chest, waist, hip, thigh, knee, shin, ankle, top of the right foot, sole of the right foot. To the right big toe, second toe, third, fourth, fifth, toe. Bring your awareness to your left hand, just feeling your left hand from inside. Left thumb, second, third, fourth, fifth finger. Palm, back of the hand. Left wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, left side of the chest, waist, hip, thigh, knee, shin, ankle, top of the foot, sole of the foot, left big toe, second, third, fourth, fifth toe. Bring your awareness to right eye, left eye, right temple, left temple, your right cheek, left cheek, right ear, left ear, top lip, bottom lip. Your right nostril, left nostril. You sense the left nostril, sense the whole left side of the body as you feel an in-breath. Feel the in-breath come up through the left nostril. As you feel the out-breath, feel the breath moving down through the right nostril as you sense the whole right side. And just guiding yourself just with your own breath. And the breath in through one side. And the breath out through the other side. In the same side that you breathed out of. And out the other side. With your next breath out, feel the breath through both nostrils, feel the entire body, our entire body breathing out. Entire body breathing in. Just floating on the breath. Reflecting on your sankalpa, your intention. You might like to stay resting, please do. If you'd like to seal our practice with an Om, just take your time to slowly touch your thumbs over your fingertips and wriggle your toes. How you can deep peace and serenity into your day. You might like to hug your legs in if you wish and in what feels right for you. You might like to stay laying down. Just feel the Om inside you. Perhaps you'd like to bring your palms together and take a lovely inhalation as one. Om. Namaste. Namaste, everybody. Good on you. Thank you, thank you.